Hi friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Caitlin and I like to do eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos. Today you're seeing a ranking video, but specifically with my ranking videos, I like to rank every palette I used in the month, so both old and new palettes. I think it's helpful to just kind of see like, where are these new palettes? Like, yeah, I may like them in my review video, but do I like them better than stuff I already had? So I always think that's helpful, so that's why I like to do it that way. And then for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you're seeing it again. And today I am filming for once. I am timely with filming my ranking video. I'm filming this on the last day of the month. Today is April 30th, that when I'm filming it. So yeah, here are all the palettes I used this month. If you are interested in eyeshadow palette ranking and reviews, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. Don't know why I can't talk. And then make sure to like this video. So anyways, let's get on into it. I forgot to count how many that I had. The English language is escaping me today. So I have exactly 20 palettes. A bit of a disclaimer. I was out of control in April. I bought 8 eyeshadow palettes. Actually I bought 9. One hasn't arrived yet. So I've tried 8 new palettes for the month of April. So yeah. My goal for the year was to get like 3 palettes a month and to cap myself at that. And that hasn't happened. So I have 8 new ones. And then 12 that are older than the month of April to me, but some that I got in March. So anyways, just want to disclose that, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So yeah, okay. I'm not proud of myself. So anyways, okay, so number 20. This is not a new palette, but it is a new to me palette. I did just purchase it this month of April. So this is the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette. The reason it's low is one, the look I've only used it once and I didn't like the look. I used this matte and I just didn't really love how it's too deep of a matte to try and blend out on its own, and then there's no other mattes. So I just wasn't super thrilled with it. But the shimmer shades I basically used these 4 shades, but these shimmer shades are very pretty. So that does make up for it. But I don't know. I think you can still get this on Sephora and Melt's website. So even though it's an older palette, I think it's still available. But yeah, I don't know. I have to use it more and play with it more and find a way to make it work for me. But I didn't feel comfortable putting it up higher when I have other palettes that I like more. Number 19 is the Huda Beauty Color Block Obsessions palette. This is I thought it was the blue and yellow, but everybody calls it the blue and green. I don't know. But anyways, this is what it looks like. It has the water activated liner, which I thought was really nice. And then there's like 3 shimmer shades. You have this 2 in the split pan, and then the rest are mattes. This palette was okay. I didn't feel like the shimmers performed that great. And then this matte, I had some issues with like it being patchy and just disappearing. So wasn't my favorite formula, but I think it's a cool concept. I like the packaging, and yeah, I think you can still get fun looks with it. It's just not my favorite formula to work with. Next is the other Color Block Obsessions. This is the purple and orange. This matte shade caused me problems, and then I don't love how these shimmers are dark, like all dark purples, and there's not a ton of purple mattes, especially when this one doesn't work that well. But anyways, I ranked this one higher because I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, and that's why my nails are purple and orange and they match this palette. So yeah, that's just a me thing that put that up higher. Okay, 2019, 18. Number 17 is the Melt Cosmetics Brunette palette. I feel like I talk about this palette like almost every month because I end up reaching for it quite a bit. It's just it's got a very nice formula, especially for Melt. It's just sort of a boring color story. But the reason that I reach for it so often is because it is boring, and some days I just don't have it in me to be creative. So I'm like, well, it's just gonna look nice on the lid, and this is a go-to palette. The other issue I have with this palette is that my packaging like ripped at some point. So I am a little bit upset about that it's not a little bit sturdier. So anyways, it makes me sad every time I use the palette. Number 16 is the Viseart Petite Mattes Dark palette. This is an all matte palette. It's a little bit too deep for my skin tone to get like a cohesive look using only this palette. So the quality on this is 10 out of 10 amazing, but it has to be a companion palette for me because the shades are a little bit too dark. But it's really nice to add to palettes where there's not a ton of depth and then pull this in to create that depth. Number 15 is another new to me palette, but it's not new. It's the Cosmetics Radioactive palette. You actually can't purchase this palette anywhere, like retailer wise. I got this on Poshmark. I bought this from somebody and I really like this. It's actually what's on my eyes today. So I have the two, I put uranium and hazmat obviously in the crease, and you can't see it, but on the lid I did radioactive and arsenic, and then I tapped a Danessa Myricks Infinite Chrome Flakes in Shooting Star. I tapped that over the lid, and then I have the Carla Cosmetics Multi-Chrome Loose Eyeshadow in Sweet Dreams on the inner corner. So anyways, that's what I got on my eye. But I thought this worked out nicely. It's kind of interesting. These perform more like a satin than I was expecting. I thought they were mattes with like, I don't know what I think we're looking at them. I thought they were mattes with like just shimmer in them, and so they would be that type of formula where you put it on the eye and it just the shimmers blend away, or the glitter blends away. But they are not. They definitely have a sheen to them, but I kind of like it. So I'm happy with this. But again, I've only used this one time so far, so I didn't want to put it too high when I've used every other palette a little bit more. Number 14 is the Viseart the Viseart Paris Etoile, I think is how you say that. This one's a little bit more cohesive. It's so tiny, but you can just get a very nice smoky neutral look, and I just think that it's just a really pretty easy to use palette, and it's so cute and tiny. I think I'm gonna bring it with me when I travel because it's just so small and compact. Number 13, I have the Menagerie Cosmetics Sugar High palette. This is a new palette for the month. So what are we at so far? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've done 4. This is the 5th new palette. The shimmer shades are really beautiful. They're just darker than the mattes, which I don't love. This might be a good palette to combine with my dark matte edit, or whatever that one's called from Viseart, just because it could benefit from some more depth. But overall, the quality of the mattes and the quality of the shimmers is really nice. It's just a personal preference on the color story, and not even the color story. I like the color story. I just wish, I shouldn't say I like the color story, because the color story does involve the depth, but I like the colors that they used. I like how colorful it is. I just wish there was more variation in depth in the colors that were used. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so number 12 is the Nomad Cosmetics Whistler Snow Lodge palette. This palette, I have a harder time with this color story, but like creating looks, but I think it's really pretty, and I think there's definitely more unique looks that you can get with it. But the shimmers in this palette are like possibly some of the prettiest that are in this whole ranking. Really, this one is only where it's at because I struggle with the color story. So yeah, but it is very pretty and very good quality. So if you like that color story, go for it. That's a good palette. This is 11. So number 11 is the Lois Cosmetics Meet Me at Midnight palette. I know a lot of people didn't love this palette. I will say that the shimmers are not, they're definitely not like at the Nomad Cosmetics level of like wet, sparkly, metallic. But I do feel like they have a nice sheen to them on the eye, so I still like them. This is another palette that tends towards being a little bit too dark for me to create a cohesive look. Like for example with this, like, well, this you could put with this purple, but it's more like this green shade. Like it kind of needs something to help blend it out. But I have a lot of pastel palettes, so when I've combined it with those, it's worked out really nicely for me. But I really like this color story, and yeah, I think that is a nice palette. So again, preference wise, that's why I had a hard time between whether the Lois Cosmetics palette or the Nomad Whistler Snow Lodge, like which one should be above which other. It's like you could swap those any day. It just depends on my mood that day. Number 10 is the Kai Love Beauty Art Nouveau palette. This is another palette that was new to me in the month of April. So this is number 6, I think. This is definitely a rainbow palette, but The shimmers in this are very pretty. Like this is a very beautiful like yellow orange, and then the green and this like indigo blue, like they're just like a unique shade within the rainbow. So I don't know, I really like this palette. I think it's really pretty, and I actually am surprised. I was hesitant to buy this one. The cover sold me, and I figured I was gonna buy the cake liner palette anyway, so I was like, might as well go for it. But I'm pleasantly surprised how much I like that palette. I just thought that I didn't need a rainbow palette because I have a bunch of them, but it's different. It's like a different kind of rainbow palette, and it's really, I don't know, it's just fun. I really am liking it. Number 9 is the Adept Cosmetics X Heather Austin palette. I just don't get along with the mattes in this palette. I don't feel like they perform as well as some of my other mattes. These shimmer shades are all super special, super beautiful. They're a little bit high maintenance, but worth it. Like so stunning. If you just gotta, you know, give them some gentle TLC, and they will perform beautifully. Okay, so number 8 is the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette. This might be the oldest palette that I used. In my like oldest to me, this is gonna reflect because this is gold, but I love this color story. I just have fun with this palette. I think the packaging's beautiful. I love playing with this palette. I love pulling it out. I'm not gonna keep belaboring how much I love that palette because I think it's discontinued. So anyways, number 7 is the Viseart Bijouette Étendue palette. I don't know why I held it up when it was still in the carton. Here you go. This is what the palette looks like. Oh, that packaging is so beautiful. I love Art Deco. I just really like this palette. I don't know, it's funny because it's like just a very basic like neutral color story for the mattes, and then it's just colorful shimmers. But there's something about it that works. I'm a big fan of this palette. Again, I love the size of the Viseart palettes. I really like how small they are, and I think part of that is because I have so many eyeshadow palettes, as you can see in the background, I think, but so like I don't use all the products, so the fact that these are small, like they're easier to store. I don't know. There's just something about the size that I really like. Number 6 is the 7th new palette, and this is the Melt Cosmetics Gemini 2 palette. I don't love the shimmers that they picked in this palette, especially because they're darker, but the mattes and the color story for this mattes, oh, so beautiful. I'm a big fan of these mattes and the color story overall. I just wish they picked lighter shimmers, but even the shimmers themselves work all right. They're better than some of the melt shimmers that you get. But anyways, I like this palette a lot. Top 5. Leave your guess down below which one you think is going to be my number 1 palette before we get into it. Number 5 is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics The Dollhouse palette. This is just such a good colorful palette, like neutral colorful palette. Like when you want a colorful look but more on the subdued side, not quite like bam in your face. This is a really nice palette. I keep reaching for it. I feel like this ends up since I've bought it, it's been in like almost every video. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that palette as well. Number 4 is the Gimme Glow Bad Witch Club palette. I've talked about this palette a bit as well. I love this palette. I think the matte color story of this palette is beautiful. These shimmers are each beautiful in their own right. I just wish there was like a brighter shimmer in here as well. But since I have like some loose pigments and tons of eyeshadow palettes, I can combine this with other ones. But if it had a light shimmer, I think this would be like my number 1 palette of all time. Number 3 is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. This is another one that there's just something about it that's just, when you put it on the eyes, it's just beautiful. It's very pretty and special and like a nice neutral look, but these shimmer shades are so sparkly and unique that you can amp up your more neutral wearable look with that. And when I say wearable, I mean like for those of you that don't want to look like this on a daily basis, because obviously to me, like I went out to lunch in this, like I think you can wear whatever makeup you want. Number 2, this was so hard. Number 2 and number 1, and honestly the whole ranking was hard, but these two I'm really torn. But this is the last new to me palette for April, and this is the Nomad Cosmetics Paradise Islands palette. And I will say that it doesn't go as deep as I would like it to, but it's so fun and pretty, and every single shimmer in this palette is so beautiful. I just love it. And I feel like I was able to make any look I wanted, like, deep enough. Not as deep, like, it doesn't go this deep, but it went pretty deep. So I really enjoyed this palette. I love the shimmery shades. The lack of depth, which I think in the context of the color story and what they were going for with the theming of this palette, I get the lack of depth. I think it makes sense. But just for how I like to do my makeup, I do want a little bit more depth. But anyways, number one. It was then in the number one spot last month as well, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But this is the Lethal Cosmetics Night Flower palette. And it's just the purple palette of my dreams. There's really nothing else to say. I love this. I really like the shimmer shades in here. I like the mattes. I like the overall color story. Yeah, that's it. So those were all 20 eyeshadow palettes that I used in the month of April. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you have any of these palettes, let me know if we have similar opinions, if you have different opinions. I love talking makeup with everybody in the comments. And that's everything from me. So I will see you guys next time. Bye!